Just fantasy baseball. We're back with a little Friday, Saturday episode, weekend edition. Clay, happy Yuri Perez Day. That's first and foremost, happy Yuri Perez Day. He's going to go against your Cincinnati Reds against Graham Ashcraft tonight. They're going to be wearing, those Marlins are going to be wearing their teal pinstripes. It's just a beautiful thing to see on a Friday night. That's what I'm going to be tuned into. Yuri Perez, for those that do not know, is baseball's top pitching prospect, just baseball's number 4 overall prospect. He has been unbelievable in Double-A this year, and so much so that he made the jump right to the big leagues. He's striking out this year in the minor leagues, 36% of batters, walking just 7.7% of batters, a 51.6% ground ball rate, and a 2.32 ERA. If you haven't grabbed him already in your league, well, he might be gone, unfortunately, but make sure, just go to your waiver wire right now as you're listening to this. Make sure he's not on somebody's team. And if he's not, go pick him up.
Yeah, I have you to thank. So I drove through the night back from Atlanta from a work trip, was taking a nap, only to wake up to Colby's text in all caps about Perez and to go pick him up. And it's funny, Colby, somebody from my league messaged me and said, I literally clicked add, and when I was deciding who to drop, you added him. So I couldn't add him. So I literally beat him by seconds. So I'm pretty happy about that. First start for a 20-year-old Great American Ballpark. We'll see how it goes, man. He's special. He's special, but we've seen
No. It's in Miami.
Oh, sorry. Yes, in Miami. But we've seen it with prospects where some of them come up and you get the Bryce Miller, and some of them come up and you get Brandon Pfaadt. You know what I mean? Who knows? But I'm so excited to watch him pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too, man. I mean, he's what, 6'8"? He's 6'8", and he throws so hard, has multiple secondaries, nasty changeup. I mean, this is wonderkind like level. This is the best Marlins prospect since Jose Fernandez, the best pitching prospect the Marlins have had since Jose Fernandez. I mean, big shoes to fill here. Big shoes to fill. So first, though, Clay, before we get into talking about some guys we want to talk about and doing, the little win the weekend segment, let's go through some injury updates because there are a lot of them to talk about right now. The saddest one right off the bat is Max Fried going on the shelf with forearm soreness, tightness. I don't know what it was exactly, but he's going to be out until at least July. And Max Fried had such an amazing start to the year. In his first 4 starts this year, he gave up just 1 run. Then he had a blow-up start against Baltimore and immediately went on the shelf. So something was not right in that last start for him, but really upsetting because he looked like he was well on his way to another just spectacular season right in the Cy Young race. So he won't be back until early July. Sad, right?
Yeah, it is sad, but Atlanta has a lot of starting pitching now. Kyle Wright's been injured as well, and Mike Soroka, like, I don't really know what to make of that. He's not looked good in AAA. But they have some young guys that we have talked about on the show before, and that's why they're an elite team. They have some depth in the rotation that can allow them to not implode with an injury like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Clay, you're a guy that I love to hear you say just went on the shelf. Tyler Mahle is on the shelf for the season with Tommy John surgery. He was off to a great start to the year as well, man. And the Twins are really going to miss him. I mean, he was striking out a career high, walking a career low, had a 3.16 ERA, a 3.06 expected ERA through 5 starts this season. That is a huge blow for the Twins, a huge blow for fantasy owners because he looked like he was on his way to a really fine season.
He was a player who was always a bit underrated because when you got him out of Great American Ballpark with the Reds, he pitched well. His career splits were absurd. And that was the main reason I was like, the Reds need to trade this guy because it's not a small sample. Like, it may be mental. Like, I don't know why he cannot pitch in Cincinnati, but it sucks for the Twins. Luckily, they also have someone like Bailey Ober who's been able to step up and pitch well enough, and he was good last year. I just wrote a roster trends for fantasy baseball article that dropped this morning Friday morning at Just Baseball, if you all want to check that out. But I talked a little bit about Bailey Ober. The Twins, they've had some bad injuries in their rotation, and there's a few guys that can get them by, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to look to add somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're a win now team. Clay, you bring up the home road splits. He had an ERA near 5 at home for his career. He had an ERA of 3.73 on the road. Yeah. The problem is you can't be a fly ball pitcher at Great American Ballpark. Yeah. But the insane thing is the one ground ball pitcher that the Reds have right now, Nick Lodolo, is having the worst home run luck I've ever seen. He has the league high home run per fly ball rate. So any Nick Lodolo owners out there, I'm expecting Nick Lodolo to be just fine. He's striking out nearly 30% of batters, not walking anybody, as we know he does, still getting those ground balls. I mean, he's just been really unlucky with the home runs he's giving up.
Not worried about him. Graham Ashcraft was another guy who's been dropped in 12% of ESPN leagues. He ended up on the Fantasy Trends article, and I was surprised by that as well. Of his 7 starts, he has 6 quality starts, or maybe it's 5 of 6. Whatever the number is, his last outing was the only one that was not a quality start. So
I would say that was definitely not a quality start. 8 earned runs in 1 2/3 innings, but it happens. I mean, that's the type of start that will skew your entire season. Like, he had an ERA in his starts before that of 2. He had an ERA of 2. His ERA right now is 3.82 after that one blow-up start. So, yeah, don't be fooled always. But Ashcraft, yeah, the command sometimes isn't there when he's not whiffing guys that can just completely ruin him. But agreed, don't do anything rash with Graham Ashcraft. All right. A few more notes here. Liam Hendriks is nearing a return, Clay. He could be back possibly this week. I was looking into his minor league numbers before the episode. They don't look great on the surface, but that's because he had a little bit of a blow up in his last outing. He gave up 2 home runs in 2/3 of an inning. It was the first time that he had pitched in a back-to-back game, but before that had 2 scoreless innings and 1 inning where he just gave up 1 earned run. So not worried about Liam Hendriks. Very excited for him to come back. I have him rostered in a few leagues. And he should slot into that closer role in Chicago immediately. But just amazing story for him to return, and really excited to see his energy. I think the White Sox could use a guy like him, just like that energy. They need something, man. That team is a disaster when it comes to culture and energy and vibes.
Yeah. I think it was maybe a few weeks ago I said, pick him up, put him on your IL. If you have the roster spot to just do it. He's going to come back. And, he's a guy who could potentially be traded. I probably am not going to bet on it, but, we keep talking about how do you kind of steal saves in fantasy. It's picking up a guy who's going to get traded and potentially fill a closer role. Even if he doesn't do that, he has such a strong track record that I think he's going to be just fine, even with the minor league blowups and whatnot. Not too worried about that. We have years and years of good data on him.
Also, for anybody out there that's watching on YouTube and you picked up Yennier Cano after watching the show, please comment or something. I want to know who picked up Yennier Cano after we mentioned him, because he has picked up a save in the last week. He still has a 0 ERA. I mean, the guy is unbelievable.
Okay,
Clay.
And something to monitor there is Felix Bautista. If you just look at his ERA, you will say, oh, he's been great. He's been walking like 6 or 7 per 9. The Baltimore Orioles
still nasty though. Still nasty.
But if that continues,
he's striking out 40% of batters.
I know, but if that continues, there's a non-zero chance that he could lose his spot. Is all I'm saying. So Cano is in position right now to take the closer spot if something goes wrong.
For sure,
because I'm sure the patience will not be. The leash isn't that long.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, the Orioles are winning so much that Yennier Cano picking up a save a week right now is not out of the question, because they're just winning so much. Bautista cannot pitch every night. The one thing I am a little concerned about, though, is they're pitching Cano a lot.
That's what I was going to say, man.
Lot.
It's just like David Bednar last year. We're like, why is he going 2 innings every time he goes out there, like 1.1, 1.2 innings? And it's good for fantasy because, you may be able to get 8 outs or or 6 outs as opposed to 3 outs and more strikeouts and whatnot. But a little bit worried about that.
A little bit, man. He pitched 2 innings on May 4th, 2 innings on May 7th. Then he pitched 1 2/3 on the 9th. And then I was sure that he wasn't going to pitch on the 10th. And he picked up a save on the 10th. I was like, wow, they're pitching him a lot. But I guess you got to do what you got to do to get a win against the Rays. That's that. I mean, if you're going to expense your relievers, it's going to be against the Rays. But moving on, Tyler Glasnow left his rehab start this past week with an oblique injury or oblique tightness soreness. I don't know. It wasn't serious. He's expected to resume his rehab on Tuesday. But regardless of it being serious or not, you do not want to hear that Tyler Glasnow is dealing with an oblique injury. That is a nightmare.
And it's something's going on with the Rays. Like something is going on with that pitching staff, man. There's been so many injuries.
I don't think it's anything that is Rays specific. I just think that pitchers in today's climate are just getting hurt, and it's just the way it is.
They throw about so hard. The way that they develop. I just meant like there's some bad vibes about all of the injuries. Like there's some bad mojo over there in Tampa. But Taj Bradley, when are we going to see him up, Colby?
Yeah, I mean, it better be soon. It better be soon, and that's a guy to kind of stash right now.
I've been stashing him in
he has the fastball.
It's kind of hurting me, but
he has that fastball that he can play in the bigs with. Like that's the most important thing. Like you've seen Brandon Pfaadt come up and really blow up, and it is because of that fastball is not above league average, and he leaves it middle, and it's not a pitch that he can leave middle. Like Taj Bradley has the fastball that you can leave middle and get whiffs with because it has that movement profile. Couple last injury notes. Tristan McKenzie is throwing bullpens right now. He's eyeing a late May return. So that's something just keep a lookout for. And then the last one is Jose Altuve took BP with AAA this past week, and he could be back as soon as this week. So that's another thing to watch if you've been stashing him out in your IL. I actually play in a league, Clay. Hear how weird this is. I play in a 12-team, 14-keeper league, and we have a rule that you're not allowed. We do weekly waivers as well. We have a rule that you're not allowed to pick up guys that are on the injured list. So you can only pick them up once they return. And it basically creates I think it's good because then it creates like a bidding war when they do come back. So Jose Altuve, I'm very curious to see how much he goes for. We get $100 to spend for the year. I'm willing to bet that Altuve is going to go for, 30 plus here.
There is one more name that I want to mention, and this one's a little bit further down the line, but everyone's kind of forgot about him. Is Tarik Skubal. He's been throwing a bullpen, and he's doing only fastballs right now, but he's somebody who could come back maybe later in the summer. But think about if you could stash him right now. I think he's owned in 3% of most leagues on ESPN. It's a guy with a 3.52 ERA last year, 2.96 FIP. He's shown strikeout ability. He's a good pitcher that's sitting out there. And if you have an IL spot, throw him on there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that at all, Clay. I don't hate that at all. All right. Before we get into weekend streamers win the weekend, I want to bring up just a few guys that over the last week I want to talk about, trends I'm seeing, little things. So the first guy I want to start with, Clay, Brett Baty is kind of going through the Triston Casas thing right now, right? Yeah. I brought up Triston Casas on the last episode and said, well, he's hitting the crap out of the ball. He's hitting the ball in the air. And guess what? Nothing's fallen for him, which can happen over a small sample size. Brett Baty came up, struggled for maybe a week, but he's been hitting. Over the last 12 games, Clay, a 13% K rate, a 10% walk rate, a 200 ISO, a 56% hard hit rate, and a 15% barrel rate. That screams elite player right now. That's not a prospect making an adjustment. 13% K rate is what he was doing in the minor leagues when he was hitting well over 300. The power to hit 20, 25 bombs. He's just 42% owned right now. And the other huge thing is he's been hitting in the 5-hole for the Mets the last 4 games. So down the stretch here, I could expect 275, 15 bombs, a ton of opportunities for run production here in this Mets lineup, especially if he's hitting in the 5-hole. And I don't see that changing.
Yeah, and we've talked about it preseason, and I'm sure people have realized how thin third base can be in fantasy at times. A good option right now. He's available in quite a few leagues, so if you have a spot that you can pick him up, yeah, I had him for a while and had to drop him just due to roster
I
construction
mean,
issues.
Clay,
But
a guy that we talked about so much and I loved is Alec Boehm, but I would drop Alec Boehm for Brett Beatty right
so
now.
I had
No
both of them on
question.
my team, and I made that decision.
No
I
question.
kept Alec Boehm because I did not have any other first baseman besides Vinny. So I wanted a little bit of flexibility there. Um, but man, it's tough. It's tough.
The other guy that I talked about in my article last week, I didn't talk about on the podcast for the waiver article, was Anthony Rendon. I did want to bring him up just very quickly because he's been hitting the ball very hard. 40.5% hard hit rate is actually the highest he's been since 2019. Yeah, the power isn't crazy right now, but he's hitting 292 and he actually has an expected batting average of 300. So this is a guy that I think is starting to get back into it. I could expect the power to come back second half as he gets stronger. But this is a guy that I could consider picking up right now. He has a 386 expected WOBA, still hitting 292 with a 418 on base percentage right now. So if you're in an OBP league, Rendon is an asset right now.
A
Yeah.
couple of names I just want to throw out there too. I think it was I don't remember when, but I wrote about him in a waiver wire pickup type article, and it was Ezekiel Tovar, who has been playing much better,
That was
showing
recent, Clay. It's like
yeah,
2 weeks ago.
showing some signs of power, just looking a lot more comfortable at the plate. He's one that I would definitely consider, especially if you're in a little bit deeper league. Um, One that I also like is Riley Green. I think he's okay. So he has 30 balls hit over 100 miles an hour. 10 of them have come in the past 2 weeks. He actually pulled a home run,
Are any of them in
which
the air? That's my
he hit it in the
immediate
air
first
off
question.
Verlander. He had a pull side home run, and I immediately text Reese White and was like, "Did you see that? Like Riley Green lifted the ball. He elevated a baseball. He's been playing much better, and he's probably available in 80% of leagues or so.
I'm out,
Um,
Clay. I'm out. 33% hard hit rate, a negative
that's
1.4
because of how
average launch
bad
angle in
this.
the last 2 weeks. Come on. No way.
He's a guy. All right, but I'm just saying. Now I got another Detroit Tiger for you, Javi Baez. What do you think about that one? He's hitting over 300 in the past month.
Javi Baez.
All three home runs have come in the past 13, 14 days or so. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's been recent.
Well,
He's
with
striking out a
Baez,
career low too.
I mean, with Baez, that's the type of player he's been the type of player if he's focusing. What do you think
Yeah,
his strikeout rate is over the last 2 weeks?
I have no idea.
14.3%.
Yeah,
I mean, if he's doing that, yeah. I mean, if he's locked in like he was with the Mets that second half where he made an
I
adjustment and
think
he wasn't striking out, yeah, he's
I
legit. I mean,
think the number
321, 397 OBP over the last 2 weeks and a 536 slug, 3 home runs. I mean, yeah, he's
and he's
reaching
whiffing on
like
breaking balls.
rosterable right now.
He's whiffing 10% less on breaking balls compared to last year. He's just looked much better, and like you said, he just looks focused. And last name for me is Christopher Morel, who the Cubs utility man, just got called up and was absolutely crushing it in AAA and hit a home run in his first game back. I'm a big fan of his, so I may be a little biased, but somebody who has multiple positions, can steal some bags, has some power, and he's just out there and available.
Yeah, man. I mean, he went ballistic in the minor leagues. 24 years old in AAA, and he had 11 home runs in 29 games. Yeah, he was striking out 30% of the time, but he was walking. And with him, you're just looking for power and speed. And yeah, I mean, that's the type of guy worthy of a flyer. We were talking in ESPN, you said, Clay, he's only second base and outfield eligible, but in Yahoo, third base, shortstop, second, and outfield. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the type of guy you keep on your bench. And if somebody isn't playing one day in any of those positions, you can slot him in. So that's kind of the beautiful thing about Morel.
Just a side note, and it's a bit off topic. ESPN is changing the way that they're going to do their positions going forward. And I may have mentioned this before, but I think it's 25% is how they're going to do it for players who have not, if they've only played 40 games or something, you only have to play 25% to get that eligibility. Um, just something to think about for next year and watching these players.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I got a few more, Clay, a few more names. Jose Abreu, I believe, is now droppable. He's still owned in
Oh yeah.
78% of leagues. He has yet to hit a home run this year. His hard hit rate is the lowest of his entire career. And not just like, oh, yeah, it's down a few ticks. No, he's at 35.8% hard hit rate this year, down from 52% last year. He's hitting just 158 over his last 2 weeks. And yeah, any notion that he could have just been off to a slow start, dealing with a new team. No, I mean, this is somebody that, is now 36 years old. And it's always been with Jose Abreu. When is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? And forever, I don't think it's going to happen. Like, he's been hitting the ball hard forever. Why is that going to change now at 36? And I guess it finally is changing. And this was not a guy we were on at all, really. But yeah, I would say he's droppable. The fact that he's still owned in 78% of leagues is kind of crazy to me. Pick up Casas. I would much rather have Triston Casas on my team right now.
Quick note on Abreu. I don't know why, and it's kind of morbid, but I think about this all the time. Like, imagine if he was on the White Sox doing this, and like all of the stuff the White Sox have been through this year. Now they're like king from the past few years is struggling this bad. So good move by the White Sox to not bring him back.
That could be a disaster of a contract for the Astros. 3 years, 58.5 million. He was so sought after. I wanted the Red Sox to get him. And here I am just like, wow, thank goodness. Thank goodness we went and got Justin Turner instead of him to play DH, and Casas can play first. So yeah, Jose Abreu looks pretty cooked. Another guy that has been struggling, Anthony Volpe, really struggling right now. On the year, 199 average, 292 on base percentage with a 338 slug. So has not really gotten it going. And even over the last 12 games, he's been struggling. He has a 26% strikeout rate, just a 4% walk rate. So over his last 12 games, slash line 154, 185, 327, 2 home runs, 3 stolen bases. But Clay, I say all that and I sound negative, but I say buy low, buy very, very low, because over those last 12 games, 52.6% hard hit rate, a 15.8% barrel rate, and all those steals to go along with it. Like, once this is another guy, like, hitting the ball hard, doing things right, but just getting really unlucky. And even if, I'm not expecting him to go hit 300, but if he's hitting 230 with a good amount of power and the speed profile, he might steal 40, 50 bags this year. I say go aggressive and go buy him right now.
Yeah, I dropped him. And the reason why is because I wanted to pick up
with those steals.
Well, I'm in a points league.
Oh, okay. So, okay, fair.
Yeah, they matter, but they're
not
worth
as much.
Not
point. As much. Fair.
So, yeah, but I dropped him because I wanted to pick up 2 people who can play that and kind of figure it out for now. I needed the roster spots, and my plan was I actually picked up Javi Baez and Tovar, and I'm just kind of waiting for either one to cool off or one to separate themselves until Corey Seager comes back. But Volpe, I held on as long as I can, and I just couldn't do it anymore. It was hard because I love the player.
Is he still available?
He's been on and off like 2 or 3 rosters since then.
Okay. If he comes back on, I would consider it. Like, this is
10,
the type
10-person league. 10-person league.
10-person league. I think about it next time he comes available, because this is, again, one of those guys that's like doing everything right, but in a small sample is kind of getting a little unlucky. Could be a big second half here coming from Volpe. Eduardo Rodriguez, Clay, has been magical so far this season. A 1.57 ERA, 2.6 expected ERA, 3.08 FIP. He's walking just 5% of batters, which is miles below his career average, around 8%. Striking out more batters than he did last year, 25% K rate. He's looked great. Not giving up a lot of home runs right now, which could signal that he could regress towards giving up some more home runs here. He has a 90% left on base percentage.
Yeah.
Yes, he's been great, and I have him rostered, but I'm leaning towards now kind of shopping offers out for him. Like, I think this is the perfect sell high candidate. Like, yes, he's actually good, so people will be interested, but do I think that he is a guy that's going to have an ERA under 3? No. Like, this is the type of guy where, yeah, he can put up a 3.4 ERA the rest of the year, and that's good. But, like, his value right now, I bet you could get somebody to believe that he is, like, nearing that ace level guy. Not ace, but, like, a good starter right now. You could catch somebody sleeping.
He's looked so good. And it's really been the command. And I'm not talking about just not walking people. Like, you see first pitch painted outside corner. It's beautiful. He's been awesome. He's tunneling really well. All of his pitches look the same until they get up on you. So I really like what I've seen. He's actually forced more whiffs this season than before. So selling high, I would do it as well, even though I have him and I'm not going to sell high just because I like the player and I want to keep him. But
I mean, the beauty of selling high on a guy like this is that he's actually good, so that people will be interested.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes you do have to give up good players to get good players. And I think this is the time where you could, this guy has been killing it, man. You want him. You want Eduardo. And then he's still gonna be good the rest of the season. So you're not gonna kill whoever is getting him, but it's an opportunity to get somebody else that's really good. Clay, I just have one more. Brayan Bello looked really, really solid in his last start. I just wanted to touch on it real quick because this is a guy that, like, is top of my watch list. This was against the Braves. He got 5 whiffs on 11 swings on his 4-seam fastball. I have yet to see him do this, but he was commanding that 4-seam fastball up in the zone, and it looked very, very lethal. He's a sinker first guy. The sinker was solid, but that's the one pitch for him that gets hit really hard. And so I would like to see him go to that 4-seam more. The changeup got 44% whiffs. The slider got 50% whiffs in this game. If he's commanding the sinker, it's good. But yeah, when he's leaving it up in the zone, that's the only thing that gets beat. But he went 6 innings, 2 earned, 5 Ks against the Braves. Like, very, very impressive start. 67% strikes. I'm not coming here saying, wow, run and pick him up. But just watch maybe the next start or two and see if he's continuing to throw strikes. Because if he's in the zone and commanding, he has the stuff to be very electric, and he should be staying with the Red Sox for the rest of the season. I would hope.
I'm a fan of keeping an open roster spot to just cycle in players like this.
Like high upside.
Oviedo was on the roster. Well, now he's back to shit in the bed. Like, drop him.
Yep.
Filter it in until you find someone that clicks, and you end up with an Erod, who was a streaming option, and whoa, wait up, let me hold on. And now you have a trade asset. So I like that. Should we jump into the weekend, win the weekend?
Yeah. Kill it, man.
All right. So I'm just going to roll through 3 starting pitchers. Again, this segment is just to help you with Friday, Saturday, Sunday, try to find some extra points, any way to help you win your matchup this week.
I feel like we need to add some sound effects here, like win the weekend.
We will work on the sound effects.
Let's get some sound effects.
3 streamers right off the bat. Ranger Suarez Saturday season debut, only owned in 25%. You all probably know enough about Suarez. A decent option, especially as a streamer against Colorado. Now that's at Colorado. So
Jesus, Clay, you're scaring me here.
It might be a little bit, we only have so much to work with.
Season debut in Coors?
We only have so much to work with here.
Scary, dude. I don't know. I don't know if I can sign off on this one.
How about signing off on this one? Adrian Hauser Saturday against the Royals. What do you think about that one? Mostly because, the Royals are not the world's best team. Adrian Hauser is on a better team. I think he'll steal a win at the very least there. And he actually has looked pretty decent. Now it's been a tiny sample size, but.
Well, where was his velocity? His velocity was there. That's a fine one. The Royals, they haven't been
Okay.
hitting well though.
Last one.
But let
Please
me
don't
go
yell at
back to
me.
Ranger Suarez for a second. The reason I don't like that, I like Ranger Suarez. I just am always apprehensive about starting a guy, anybody in their first start back. Like even Justin Verlander, I would be scared about starting them in their first start back on the season.
Yeah. Well, he's pretty much going to look like Randy Johnson, so pick him up. Last one. Jake Irvin. If you have no idea who Jake Irvin is, don't
I
worry. No
didn't.
one does.
I didn't.
He plays for the Washington Nationals baseball team. They're going up against the Mets. Holy crap. Why would I pick this one? Well, because he's owned in 1%. And if you're in one of those super deep leagues, or if you're in a NL only league, anything like that, like I'm trying to give some options for everyone here. Am I going to pick up Jake Irvin? No, but I'm not in a super deep league. Hear me out. Hear me out. 10.1 innings on the year, 8 Ks, 7 walks, bad, 1 run. This is flirting with disaster, but we've all been there, Colby, where you just need an option. Here's one. Is there a team that's playing worse right now compared to their expectations than the Mets? The Mets just lost a series to Detroit. They just lost a series to the Reds. Like, it's not like they're clicking like they should. I'm just saying there's a little bit of intrigue there. Now,
no, there's no intrigue.
Let me completely
with Jake Irvin. This is a creative player guy. Like if he's not real. He's not real. He had a 5.64 ERA in AAA and a 4.79 ERA in AA last year.
Yeah, good player.
I mean, this is the 1% owned. If you're in a 14 team league, like
that's what we are catering to.
A desperation. Okay, you're right. Desperation. Yes.
I gave a 25%. I'm trying to cover everybody here. If you need a bullpen option, trying to steal a few outs here, Drew Smith for the Mets. He's been great. 14 innings pitched, 19 Ks, 3 earned runs, 1 earned run in his past 11 outings. I like the player. He's only owned in less than 2% league. So if you're just looking for someone to pick up, try to steal some points here or steal some Ks or whatever. Drew Smith, Mets against the Nationals. And he hasn't pitched. I typed this up yesterday, so I don't think he's pitched in the past couple of days, so he's definitely going to play. Last one, Ezekiel Duran, 10%. Can play a couple of positions for you for the Rangers. 305, 340, 474 this year. He's looked great, but against lefties, 370, 444, and 556. Now he's going up against the Athletics, who will pitch 2 lefties, both pretty underwhelming this year. And then the guy on Sunday, I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's an Athletic starting pitcher, which means he's going to hit him very hard.
Yeah, I love that. That is the greatest sell right there. He's going against the Athletics. It's a lefty starter. I have no idea who it is. Can't be good. Cannot be good. No.
It's Sunday was a right-handed pitcher, and I for whatever reason I forgot to put it in my notes here, or I've somehow missed it.
That's fine. You go look that up. I do want to touch on Duran real quick because I like what I've seen. I mean, he's hitting the ball hard, 50% hard hit rate this year. You know what the almost good thing about Duran is? He has 1 walk and 104 plate appearances. Like that is not actually good for real baseball talent, but for fantasy, if you're in an average league, like he's just putting the ball in play, man. And for a win the weekend type of guy, like, yeah, he's going to put the ball in play a ton. He could steal a couple bags. I like this one. This is the one. This is the best one of the segment. I'm fired up about Ezekiel Duran, Clay.
Jake Irvin or Duran. Who are you picking up?
God, now you got me so excited for this Jake Irvin start, though.
Okay, before we get out of here, you got your Boston hat on. I got my Celtics pullover. Game 7. Let's talk a little bit of basketball. 30 seconds or so. Celtics in 7, right? Has to happen.
Celtics in 7. Are you kidding me? Did you watch Jason Tatum's post-game interview?
No.
Oh my God. The reporter asked him point blank. She's like, so you came out here, couldn't find it for 3 quarters. You took over in the 4th quarter. And he's like, humbly, I'm one of the best basketball players in the world. Like, that's what we do. And I mean, that is badass. Like, you go 0 of 10 in the first half.
Yeah, he was bad.
and then scores 16 points in the fourth quarter. And you're like, yeah, that's right. I can be bad for a half and still come out and, go 4 of 5 from 3 in the fourth quarter. Step backs. I mean, that was a fourth quarter to remember after one of the worst first halves ever from a superstar ever.
After a couple bad games, Al Horford's going to take over in game 7. Far too good. Vet against the team that kind of threw him off to the side. Didn't work there. Al Horford, big game 7. Colby, send us home.
Yeah, Lakers can move on tonight. I'm hoping for the Lakers moving on. I want to see more LeBron, but go Celtics, Celtics in 7. Thank you all for listening. Reach out to us on Twitter, YouTube, wherever. Reach out, like, and subscribe. Thank you guys. Adios.